So for example, if you were going to make something with a head shape, right? Like a volume for the head, for example, a mask, a helmet, whatever, right? Some armor. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend that my head is going to fit onto this rectangle, and I'm going to find the middle of each one of these planes. Okay, so I'm going to have 3 planes which I'm going to be using. So again, whenever you make a slotted planar model, there is usually a minimum of 3 planes because there are 3 dimensions, 1 for each axis, x, y, and z. So let's say, for example, we have this plane, okay? So again, I'm going to make the slot for this. Okay, so we have 2 pieces that are slotted like this, right? We have the x and y axis, okay? So the z axis is going to be here facing up, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to just take one of these planes, and I am going to draw my design. So let's say, for example, I'm just going to sketch it out on paper first. So let me change this into a Sharpie. And let's say, for example, this is my shape of my mask, right? So we are going to cut this profile, and I'm going to show you how to cut a curve correctly. So you notice there are concave corners, meaning corners that go inside, right? Whenever I see a concave corner, I always start with that, okay? Because those are easy, right? So you just take your knife and very lightly, with very light cuts, you're going to cut into those concaves. So as a general rule, for example, I could put my ruler over this piece of material. There's not a lot of, control because I'm not putting it on a lot of material. So I have to rotate my material like this so that I'm pressing down on the material and the knife at the same time. But just be careful that you don't overcut. Okay? So go slow and it will go fast. Right? So again, over here, I don't want to put my ruler this way. I want to turn my material so that my ruler is covering the area that I'm going to use. If my knife is going to slip, it will slide onto the piece of scrap and I won't care. Okay, so I'm not going to worry about curves right now. I'm just going to make straight cuts. Remember, for a lot of these models, we really want to use the model as the positive space of our design, right? This is going to be going on the inside. So it doesn't have to be ultra precise, right? Because we are going to design on top of this, right? Now, if you want to make it more precise, well, then you just have to spend more time cutting out all the details. Okay, so now we're going to approach the curve area. All right, so let me zoom in for you. Okay, so in the curve area, we have a concave over here, and we have a convex over here and a concave over here. It's going outside and this is going inside, right? So I've already cut this line and I want to get rid of these pieces. So in a curve, what you want to do is you want to cut a straight line. Okay? You don't want to cut the curve in one piece. It's never going to work. So you're just going to cut straight lines, and then you're going to get rid of these little leftover peaks afterwards. And that makes it much faster. So again, it's a convex shape. I'm going to think of it as a straight line, right? Okay, just be careful because my thumb, right? My thumb is right here and I'm cutting this way. So if the knife slips, I'm gonna cut my thumb. So just go very slow. Okay, so you can see that there's a little peak over there. We're gonna deal with that in a second. So again, I'm just going to cut straight lines. Okay, very slowly, very carefully, letting the knife do the work. I'm not pressing very hard. So you could see that even though I've only cut a straight line, my form looks like it's curved, right? So what's left are these little peaks over here. So now I'm going to just focus on cutting the peaks off, right? I'm going to make another straight line, and now I just have this little peak, this little mountain top to cut off, and now my form will have a curve that I intended it to have. So we have two more, I think. And the last one. You notice I'm always trying to keep my workspace clean. I am not trying to cut on top of scraps or garbage, right? You want to always keep your workplace clean because one, it's safer. You're not cutting on an uneven material. And secondly, you can see what it is that you're doing. Okay, so this is my cutouts for one side. Now, if I was to put another plane in here, right, we have the side of the head. Now we just need to think about the front of the head. So this is where you get to make some decisions. If the front of the head is very narrow, then you don't need to use all of this chipboard on the side, right? And you can also make it asymmetrical, okay? So I'm going to just leave this behind, or you could draw with it here if you want to have a reference, right? So let's do that. So I'm going to just draw the side of this head, right? And again, you could sketch it if you want, but remember your chin is right here, right? So you want to do something that is maybe in proportion to what it is that you want to make, okay? And then for the sake of the demo, I'm just going to make it a little bit darker so that, right? I'm not going over here because this is the front of the chin. It is not on this plane, right? When I go like this, right, I will be able to see the form of the head a little bit. Now, I could tell over here that where I think my chin is going to be right here. So this, in a way, is not going to work, right? We have to think about the head as it is on this level, right? We have to think about the shape of this head on this level of the face, right? If the chin is going to stop here before the ear or just below the ear, then maybe I can have this this little corner. So I'm going to change my design up a little bit and then just make it, I know that my head, cranium, skull, whatever you want to call it, kind of ends over there. I'm going to just change my design up a little bit and do this. Okay, so as you can see, three-dimensionally, it looks a little bit better, okay, or a little bit more kind of realistic. All right, so we're going to cut this side as well. Okay, so I have half of my head cut. So how do I get this to go on the other side? Well, you just have to make a temporary template, and we're just going to use a piece of paper for that. Okay, so I got a scrap piece of paper. I'm lining up the edge of that scrap piece of paper let's make a straight edge first, right? After cutting chipboard, cutting any other kind of material, especially paper, is really, really easy. All right, so now that we have a straight edge, we can put the center line on the straight edge. We can take our Sharpie and we can trace. Okay, and then I'm going to just cut this out. Okay, so now that I have that cut out, I can now just place it here on the center line. We know that it's going to be reflected over, and you can now trace this line and just finish your cuts. Okay, so we are ready to see what our two slots look like inserted, right? And now we have a pretty good form to work with, right? We have the side view, we have the front view, all we need is the top view.